In this video today, we're going to go over some tips that you can do to try to prevent from having carpal tunnel surgery. Now, we're going to assume that you've already talked to your doctor. If you've not, you definitely need to do that. Make sure that they want you to go out and find this type of resources to, try to prevent having carpal tunnel surgery. So what is carpal tunnel syndrome? Carpal tunnel syndrome is compression of the median nerve. It's a nerve that sits right here, so it's going to be this yellow nerve that you see right here going through the center here that passes through the wrist, through what's known as the carpal tunnel. You have 8 carpal bones there, and you have some ligaments and some connective tissue that kind of holds all that together. And so that nerve goes into the hand, and it supplies sensation and motor controllability to the thumb, this area over here. This is known as the thenar eminence, the index finger, middle finger, and the inside portion of the ring finger here. So this side of the hand, not the little finger or the outside portion of the ring finger, okay? And not the back of the hand back here. So just this area here. A lot of people, they wake up in the morning, their hand's asleep. I've suffered with this myself. Or during the day, maybe you're typing or you're writing or you're driving down the road and your fingers go to sleep and you kind of have to shake your hand or rub your hand or squeeze it to try to get that sensation to come back. And so I realize how debilitating this can be, especially in a dominant hand. You drop items, you have trouble holding on to things, a glass of water, or difficulty opening on top of a bottle of water, different things. It's very, very difficult. So again, speaking from experience, these are a lot of the things that I did to try to resolve my symptoms, which eventually did work. Now, there's different levels of irritation and inflammation that you can have associated with the nerve. And so sometimes it can get to a point where it's just almost very difficult to come back from. So, but again, in a lot of, moderate cases, and not so much really severe, but especially in moderate cases, a lot of these techniques will work. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over, some tendon loading and strengthening exercises that you're going to do. So I had this grip strengthening device here. I really like this one. This is made by the Alpha Grips company. We can adjust the end here, and I can adjust the resistance, so I can adjust where the resistance is. And then, there's going to be some numbers here, and I can see where I'm at on that resistance level. There's also a counter on the bottom of this, so I can just sit there and kind of, maybe I'm watching TV or I'm looking at my phone, and I can just squeeze this, and this is going to count for me every time that I go all the way down and make a full grip. Now, when I have patients do this, I tell them I want you to vary the position of your forearm. So instead of just, keeping it kind of this neutral position, I'll have the patient go palm up. I'll have the patient go palm down. I'll have them reach out in front and do it. I've had them hold it overhead and do it, hold it out to the side and do it, just to vary those positions, because it does change the tension on the nerve as it comes down. And so, and plus it's also functional. We very rarely do everything right here with our elbow tucked in nice to our side. So even when our patients do a lot of strengthening exercises in my clinic, we vary the position, try to go into more real world positions that you would be in. So you're going to use this, and I like to complete maybe 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions, and then as that gets easier and you feel like maybe you can go 15 or 20 repetitions, you're going to kind of crank up that resistance level so it's harder again, and now you're kind of peaking at it about that 10 repetition range. You can go a couple of more and push it to 12, but I like to do that, and that's grip strengthening with an Alpha Grips hand strengthener. Again, you can use all different kinds. I just really like the Alpha Grips products. Again, staying with Alpha Grips here, they have these resistive rings, and so there's a lot of things that you can do with these. They actually sell this in a really nice kit, and so I'm going to work on a lumbrical grip just like this. I always tell people it's kind of like a sock puppet, and so I'm just going down, keeping everything nice and stable, strengthening. Again, I don't necessarily hold my elbow by the side. I have the patients, just kind of whatever position they want to be in so that we're doing this movement correctly. And I would complete 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. Now we're going to work on pinch, just pinching down here. So I'm just going, this is called just tip pinch. And so my thumb's on the bottom, my index is on top, and I'm just kind of squeezing together, right? And then I'm going to go over what's called tripod. Some people call it 3-jaw chuck and all these different terms, but I'm just going 2 fingers on top and the thumb on the bottom. And then I'm going to go over to lateral or key pinch. So kind of your thumb up, you take this, you put it in there, and you just squeeze it down. So I'm just squeezing that down. And again, 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions, just as you can tolerate. I'm not going to over irritate everything with this. So if this really starts to make things go numb even worse or exacerbate your symptoms, back off, maybe only do one set of 10 to 12 repetitions before you progress back up. Okay, staying again with alpha grips, these are really nice. These are finger extensor bands. And so I'm going to put my fingers in here. And again, this comes in a kit, so they're numbered like 1, 2, 3 as far as resistance level. And you're going to spread your fingers apart to work on some finger extension. And I vary the position. I have the patient just go all over, look, reach over here, reach over there, elbow by the side, arm out front, doesn't really matter. I just have them go through this movement, 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. I really like that, that exercise because I want to work on those finger extensors, so bringing the fingers back. And of course, some of those tendons, the extrinsics, the ones that start outside the wrist and then end up in the hand, are also responsible for wrist extension. So I'll even sometimes go in and have the patient, so not just finger extension, extend the wrist back when you go back to kind of combine both movements. Because we want to strengthen those extensors because they can become weak, especially if the wrist flexors here, those tendons that are traveling down through that carpal tunnel with that nerve can become thickened and so kind of extra taut through there. So when you strengthen the opposite side, those antagonist muscles, the ones that do the opposite movement, we're going to get a little relaxation on the flexion side here. So that works really, really well. Now we're going to take a dumbbell. Initially, just take a dumbbell that's pretty light that you can really manage because you're probably going to have difficulty holding on to it, right? If you've got carpal tunnel syndrome going on, your grip is impaired. So I'm going to use my other arm and kind of prop up here, and we're going to go into kind of a wrist extension. Now I'm just kind of pulling back, and I'm even pulling, if you can see that, towards my thumb side. I don't go straight back, just kind of back and towards the thumb side at the same time. That's more of a functional plane. As we typically don't do this movement here, right? Unless maybe you're riding like a motorcycle or something like that. You're going to come at an angle. So I like to do that at an angle, 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. Then I'm going to flip over palm side up, and I'm going to pull back, my wrist pop. All my videos with the wrist exercises, my wrist always pops. And so we're coming back here. And you'll notice with this, I go towards the little finger side. So what's known as the ulnar side of my wrist. I don't pull straight this way. It's just kind of all together. Just kind of go what feels like a normal plane of movement. And I'm just coming back in that position. 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. And then I like to come in with a little bit of radial deviation. So just taking the bottom. Now, if this is too difficult initially, you can just hold the dumbbell, where you had it before, those other 2 exercises. But then you can progress towards coming out here like this. And you're going to go 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. Now I'm using my other arm under this. You can take a towel roll or have a small half wedge here. You can use that, put your wrists on top. That's fine too. Just whatever you feel like feels comfortable to you. I'm going to take one of these little bands here. And so now I'm going to hold, we're saying this is my right hand, right, that's affected. My left hand's holding it above. And so I'm doing ulnar deviation. So I'm just kind of twisting or bending my wrist rather towards the pinky finger side of my wrist. 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions. Now we're going to get into 3 things. These are the more active things that you're going to do, the strengthening things. So we're going to get into a few things here, and then I'm going to show you a stretch and a nerve floss technique. So this is a gua sha tool or a muscle scraping tool. You can spend a little bit of money. I think this one, it come with another piece, was about $7 or $8. And I've spent, a couple $1,000s on sets of these. Honestly, doesn't really matter. So this one here, pretty inexpensive. You can find these in the beauty section of a lot of stores, cosmetic stuff around the makeup and all of that. People use them for like the face, for a face massage. And but again, I'll have a link for some of these in the description. But you're just going to take this, you're going to go on this forearm side, and you're going to take a little bit of lotion. You don't have to use a lot of lotion, just put a little lotion on there, and then I'm just going to go back and forth, just slow stroking through this all over my forearm, down into my wrist, and I'm going to go into the hand, into the fingers. And so with this, and there's different theories as to what we're doing. Are we breaking up scar tissue? Are we increasing blood flow? And so for this video, it's not to argue or be for or against any of those. I think whatever theory that works for you and your patients and you get results, that's fine. Do those things. But for me, I'm just trying to provide that kinesthetic awareness, right? Because we know when nerves are irritated, or we have a musculoskeletal injury, that mapping or cortical mapping or shading of the area gets kind of smudged. It gets disrupted. It's not a clear picture of the tissue of the area. And so what I'm trying to do here is almost kind of shade in or kind of color in, so to speak, all of those structures in the areas. Because you have if you have carpal tunnel, or you even know of a patient that has an injury, and they'll say, my hand feels really swollen. Look how big it is, how swollen it is. I mean, my fingers are swollen. And you measure it, and it measures the exact same as the other side. But the patient will absolutely swear that that definitely is swollen. They feel like that it is. And that's that cortical smudging, or that misinterpretation of the area. So I really like to use one of these, and I would just spend a few minutes, at night before you go to bed. You got a little bit of lotion, or don't even use lotion if you don't want to use any, but use a little lotion, go over that. I spend about 60 seconds, really, really simple, and I do that once a day. Now we're going to go here. Now there's two of these. This is the pulse device. These are really neat. This is a localized vibration technology. So I partnered with Pulse Device, and I definitely like these products. And so there's an app. It's a free app. You download it on your phone. And now there's rehab sections for the app. So what you're going to do, this has an adhesive backing that you can use. It also has a strap that you can strap this on with, but you can just use that adhesive backing. I'm going to put it, let's just say, one right here, and then maybe I take the other one and I move it down. And these adhesive backings are reusable, and I put it maybe here. Now I'm going to turn the device on, and it Bluetooths to my phone, and we're going to have this vibration. We can adjust that vibration because we know that the nervous system responds depending on what we're trying to do to certain levels of vibration. So I might just be sitting there at home, turn this on, and just let it vibrate and run for a little bit, maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Or I may do this, put this on while I'm going through some of my exercises. I could have this in place and be going through my wrist, flexion or whatever exercises I want to do. I just let that run, again, to give that input to try to improve that cortical mapping or kinesthetic awareness to the area. These are not the same things as a TENS unit. I get asked that a lot. Are these the same thing as like a TENS unit or a portable e-stim unit? They are not. And so you can check their website out at pulsedevice.com and go there and kind of see. But it's definitely something that's different. It's portable. It's carrying case. So the only thing you really have to carry is the case with it in it. It has a small cord for recharging. And so just a really, really nice product that I like. And so before we show the taping here, I'm going to show you a couple of stretches you can do. So one is just going to be pulling my wrist back into extension like that. I'm just holding this. How hard or how far do I pull? Maybe initially you can only pull a little bit because it really exacerbates your symptoms. So I'm just going to pull it a little bit here, and I'm going to hold it and try to straighten out my elbow. So initially you might not be able to straighten your elbow, and then I'm going to work on straightening out my elbow and also bringing my wrist into extension. And I usually try to hold that 15 to maybe 30 seconds, and I just repeat that throughout the day, just kind of going through that stretch. That's just a really nice way to stretch out those wrist flexors. Again, remember, their tendons are running through that carpal tunnel area, right? So that's a really good technique there. And then we're going to do median nerve flossing. So there's a whole bunch of techniques and theories and ways to floss the nerves. And so one of the ones that I like is you're just going to kind of make a fist here. You're going to, I always tell people act like you're about to go to sleep. So my elbow is bent here, my wrist is bent. I'm leaning towards my hand, and then I'm going to lean my head away, and then I'm going to go out just like that. Straighten out my elbow and my wrist and my fingers, and I just come right back in, just back and forth. And you just do that throughout the day. There are some progressions with that. If you do that movement and it really, flares up your symptoms, what you can do is when you go out, you can keep your neck and, head bent over this way and just work just the arm. But again, when you pull this way, that is a more aggressive tensioning on the median nerve in its bundle where it comes off what's called the brachial plexus up here, this network of nerves. And so just a way to do that, to make it a little easier is you can keep your head bent towards the side that you're going, that's affected. And I just repeat that throughout the day, just like that stretch there. I really like that stretch. And so you just can do that same thing throughout the day. Now with kinesiology tape, I like to use the Rock Tape brand. I have partnered with Rock Tape in the past, and they've sent me products to try. So I am partial to Rock Tape. I think that their adhesive works really well. This is the extra sticky adhesive, and it's also waterproof, or you're not 100% waterproof, but you can put this on, leave it on for several days. You can take a bath, you can get it wet, it does dry out. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have a small piece of this. I'm just starting here at my wrist. Now, with this, I'm not necessarily pulling specific tension, or I need my wrist or form in a certain position. Honestly, for me, I just wanted to put it on to provide that kinesthetic awareness. So you see it here, how I have it on. And you just kind of rub it a little bit. That activates the glue. And so for this, again, there's all different kinds of ways that you can do this. I certify with a bunch of different techniques for kinesiology taping and sport taping and all that, but I just want to supply that that little bit of contact pressure along that neural container where that nerve sits traveling down my forearm there. So just a nice adjunct to what you're doing. Just throughout the day, you can put that on, you can work with it. It stretches, it moves, so you can put that on, and I think it does really well. The last thing that I would also suggest, and I don't have one here for this video, but is a carpal tunnel brace to sleep in. So again, I'll put a link in the description. I also have one on my Amazon favorites section on my website, ChadGOrthoOT.com. And so what you're going to do with that, you're going to put that on. That brings the wrist into a little bit of extension there and a little deviation, and you sleep in it at night. You can wear it throughout the day, but I usually tell patients just sleep in it at night. It does really well. Kind of help prevent that waking up with your your fingers in your hand to sleep. Again, I suffer with that myself. I have one of those braces that I use for myself that work really, really well. So again, these are just some techniques that you can try to do to hopefully prevent having to have carpal tunnel surgery. And I think that if you do go through these, if it's not just terribly severe and it's been going on for just years and years and years, this will do really well. But of course, always talk to your doctor first. Thanks so much for watching, guys.